Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Patrie, a very powerful super battleship. I mean, they all are, but the French Patrie here has some absolutely monstrous gun power here. 12 guns, up from the 8 on Republique. So, unlike Unicum, we do have a massive improvement on the guns specifically. This ship, though, can take a lot of damage early on, especially if you're not paying attention like I was in this game. Cassard got a massive torp salvo off on us. And Colombo Sap will not help things at all for us. I'm actually going to lose almost all of my HP at the very beginning of this game, playing rather poorly. Yet we're still going to have an absolute monster of a game. And that's really what I want to showcase today, as well as talking a little bit more about Patrie. But don't just give up, even if you make mistakes early on. This is the real powerful part of having healing on your ship. One of the main reasons I love cruisers that have a heal so much is that if you take massive damage and you have healing on your ship, you can still come back and have an awesome game. 12,000 HP is all we got left, 4 minutes into the game. We've lost over 100,000 HP. Not what you want to see. And fortunately for us, though, we should get outside of Colombo's range. Libertads don't have the best guns at longer ranges, so we just managed to survive, and we should get to our next heal, hopefully. We're already up over 1 million potential damage in this one, and Patrie, I gotta be honest, does struggle a bit with the survivability aspect. All the French battleships have this problem, I would say, but it certainly is much more extreme at these higher tiers thanks to 32 millimeters of armor everywhere. So battleships can start to overmatch you there, a little more common at super ships tier. But more importantly, the HE is just going to tear you apart. So many ships have 32 mil pen HE. Libertad's secondaries, as we know, will absolutely annihilate a ship like this. Colombo Sap, obviously, also needs no introduction these days. But look at the damage this ship can output at longer ranges. The guns may be a little bit inconsistent, in my opinion, dispersion-wise. But really, these French guns have amazing shell velocity and pen. So we're getting monster salvos here into this Colombo, even at longer ranges. So we got to play a little bit more passive. That is the idea here now. Obviously, it'd be a great idea to not lose 100k HP in the start of the game, so we could play a bit more aggressive. But even still, on a flank like this, Colombo, double Libertads, it's not going to be a situation where we're going to brawl the enemy team. And this is why it's so important to create crossfires. In this game, we're going to show that off quite a lot. Our team has won the A flank rather hard. Most of our team is there, or a lot of our team is there. Most of the enemy team, it seems, is on the C cap here. So we don't want to give up our ship early. We're playing very, very far back. I will admit it. It's farther back than I would like to play, but we still can make it work thanks to good crossfire and positional management here. Not risking our HP all that much, but trying to get crossfires and broadside salvos. Patrie has some overmatch, 30 millimeters of overmatch to be specific, so that does help us against those cruisers, but not as much against battleships. So we certainly need to find those broadside salvos. And as we've already seen, the pen is more than good enough to land some monstrous damage at longer ranges. This isn't a bungo situation where we lack pen. Alaska broadside again. This time we get the citadels. Alaska does have that very waterline citadel, can be difficult to hit. So second time's the charm in this case. But still have 2 Libertads to deal with. We fortunately have a Shima, a couple Rhode Islands on our flank as well. So hopefully with some broadside salvos and maybe some Shima torps helping us out, we can deal with these guys. That is not the dispersion we want to see. Usually it's going to be better than that, I hope. That looked like maybe unlocked dispersion, perhaps. But still, Patrie does lack some accuracy. Interesting that Republique, this next update here in January, will be getting a Sigma buff. So I'm very curious to take a look at that. One of the reasons I wanted to play Patrie as well. I always found these two ships, Republique and Patrie, to feel kind of similar in that Patrie has more guns, yes, but it has a longer reload and worse Sigma, leading to less shell hits. Or at least less shell hits if we fired the same number of guns. The shell volume really does help us out. I guess this comes back to the 6-gun ships that you guys love making me play with the ship request series. Shell volume helps a lot. There's on paper good dispersion, but there's not a lot that can really make up for a lack of shell volume. Just saturating an area with a number of shells helps so much for the consistency of these ships. And it seems like that's what they're going for with at least the later battleships. The Satsuma, Hanover, they only had 8 guns initially. Larger caliber had some F-key gimmicks, but Patrie, Devastation, Maine, we don't see those F-key gimmicks. We just see a massive increase in shell volume. And with that, we can get some pretty massive salvos into this Colombo, even at longer ranges. He'll smoke up, not a big deal. But those crossfires, they want to push into B, and we're still maintaining a position to catch them as they're trying to push there. So staying alive, a pretty important detail here in this game. Otherwise, those crossfires would have been nearly as impactful, and maybe we would have gone down even further. The enemy team is still winning this game, up on kills and certainly on points, and if they get the B cap, on caps as well. So it's time we take out this at least one Libertad so we can get back into the fight in B. In fact, I might have taken a little bit too long, a little too passive here. Although to be fair, I did lose a lot of HP early, so maybe that passiveness was warranted. Dealing with Libertads though is difficult, I guess we'll say, is the kindest way of putting it. They can just maneuver so quickly. I think that's the thing here. They have great armor, yes, but there's other battleships with the same level of armor. A lot of the Russian battleships have that armor as well. Yet with Libertad being able to dance around so much, it makes it so hard to pinpoint the weaknesses of that ship. The bow is a weak point if you can overmatch 32 millimeters of armor. If the Libertad is shooting all of its guns, you can actually cheek a Libertad as well. But it's so hard to hit because they can maneuver so quickly. It's very hard to get an accurate salvo there without it just missing because of their maneuverability. Also, when they go broadside, well, they got some very angled armor, much like Ushikov there. Very angled armor means we're not always going to get Citadels. 4 full pens, though, was enough to take them out with the help of the Shimakaze. We can't understate that. This Shimakaze has helped us out a ton against these ships. And we've made it up to near 200,000 damage, even after such an abysmal start. But now it's time to get back into the fight. And crucially, our engine boost is coming up off cooldown. Patrie has a special engine boost relative to the Republic. So that's why this ship can feel a little bit more nimble than the size would otherwise lead you to believe. It's a 15% engine boost, not the standard 8%. So a massive upgrade there, much like Bourgogne. It helps it so much to get around the map quicker and to avoid incoming damage. That's the other key here too, is it allows you to be more maneuverable, much like Libertad. Maneuverability helps your survivability a lot. Although brawling a Libertad, cannot recommend that. His guns even do pretty massive damage there to us. So we'll use our heal. And with this maneuverability, I'm going to try and dodge some of these secondaries. So we'll go in a straight line, get up to full speed, and then we're going to slow down and turn in, hoping to throw off some of these secondaries. And I think successfully, a little bit, throwing off the secondaries, and then speeding back up, using our engine boost there as well to try and avoid some of that incoming damage. Very, very useful to have high maneuverability on your battleship. One of the reasons Libertad is so crazy. Without that maneuverability, I think it would die quite a lot quicker. And Shimakaze, again, as we can see, coming in clutch for us. I die here, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I die here 10 out of 10 times if our Shimakaze doesn't land the god torpedoes here. So thank you for saving my life in this game, Mr. Shima player. And he's going for the C cap. So good, man. That's really, really useful to help us hopefully bring this game back. We're pretty close here. Bit of a yoink, I suppose, on the Sun Yat-sen if my shells land. But I do want to help finish off these last remaining targets and win this game. 224, 2.5 million potential damage. Not bad for someone who lost 100k HP instantly. It's those longer ranges, right, where we can use the maneuverability to dodge incoming salvos and incoming fire. That's the key here. At closer ranges, Patrie just takes a lot of guaranteed damage thanks to its large size and lack of armor. I suppose that would be the weak point. Here we see the secondaries firing off. They have very high reload, the reload is very quick. So you fire off a lot of shells, but they don't have any pen or accuracy. So it's really not worth speccing into them as much as I would like to. It's a little too greedy for not enough payoff, I guess. What we will greed for, though, is heavy AP. Yes, heavy AP Patrie. That's what we're working with. We're also got Adrenaline Rush. So I was talking about that reload being a little slower than the Republic, but we're on a 21-second reload right now. Broadside Devastation and Despair. Despair. Only 4 shell hits? No, you can't do me like that, Wargaming. It's still a 250k game, which is still awesome. But man, what a disappointment there. We do get a chance, a second chance, I suppose. Devastation does have an above water citadel. It's not angled like the Libertad or the, well, there you go. 45k, we get 1 citadel in this one. Confederate. Unicum was the other ship I was thinking of. Those angled citadels being a bit of a pain, even when you catch them broadside. So almost 300k in this one. Not bad. High caliber even. The Devastation leaves us on like 1000 HP. We get 1 more salvo out. And since Devastation has to give so much broadside, we can still get another 20k volley in. So over 300,000 damage. And I gotta say, I didn't see that coming after the first mistake I made. Lost me 100,000 HP. Usually those games, a bit of a go next moment when you receive that much damage early on. My own fault for sure, but goes to show you, you can bring some of these back. It's a good reminder for myself to not give up in some of those situations. 315 is awesome. We get decent amount of base XP as well, resulting in quite a lot of credits earned too. Received 200,000 damage. Pretty surprising given that a lot of that damage was torps early on. And we made over 700,000 credits. That's a premium account, and that is blue boosters. Just to be very clear, earning credits at high tier, at super ships tier is very, very difficult. Playing a little smarter, central battleship positioning is always a good idea. You'll catch a lot of broadsides when people are rotating. Unfortunately, our dispersion lets us down again on that Neptune. Is it unlocked dispersion or is it just Patrie trolling me? I don't know. But every once in a while, man, it seems it always is on the target that is the most vulnerable and is the most broadside. Although maybe that's just confirmation bias affecting me right now. Angled main, we're on 126,000 damage right now, and we're up to 150k. So we did over 25,000 or around 25,000 damage to an angled main at that range. Very strange. We do a lot of damage to angled ships apparently. This one though, again, not looking so good. We've lost 2 caps. Our team is struggling to survive this one, so it's time to push in with some HP this time. Yes, we did the camping thing, almost forced to. I don't like to do that, but it is good to show that playing smart and playing towards the back seems to be the way that you get consistent results, or can get more consistent results. But it's important to push in too, and certainly this is the time to do it. If we don't push and I stayed back where I was, well, we just would lose the game regardless. So it's a good idea to try here. Now, main pushing in, very scary, but if he's at an angle like this, we might be able to citadel him. Or if he slows down, we won't have to worry about it. The deep water torpedoes, though, are rather terrifying. And I have a decision to make. Do I stay in the cap, or do I use this opportunity to turn away? In this one, I decided to stay in the cap and maybe try and, I don't know, bow tank or at least isolate fights against the Alsace. I was worried that if I had turned out here that then the main could have pushed up a little further, and then I would have been caught in a broadside between Alsace as well as the main there. So a little bit concerned about those bow-on torpedoes. We're just going to have to hope for bad RNG. Broadside Alsace, though. A ship that you don't always citadel, French kind of black hole armor, yet this time we nearly one-shot him. Triple citadel. That's that extra pen and velocity, I think, helping us out quite a lot there. The French ships have a bit of turtleback. It's not angled well enough to be turtleback as effective as the German battleships, but it's angled, and more importantly, it's spaced armor. And that's really the French gimmick of the armor, I suppose, is that The spaced armor creates kind of a black hole in there where shells just disappear. But fortunately with Patrie, we have enough punching power to get through all of that and still manage to Citadel. So in a game like this one, 237,000 damage, man. These super battleships are so powerful, okay? I gotta emphasize that. Super ships are crazy strong, especially against tier 9s, tier 10s, it's crazy. But they can still be frustrating to play. Yep, we leave that Neptune alive. That's a little disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. It's still a great game. Fortunately, Lepanto does clean it up for us, so 250,000 damage. Still awesome. We end up losing it, thanks to, I think the main was just absolutely clutching out for the enemy team there. So, super battleships, crazy powerful. Patrie is awesome. It really is strong, but those inconsistent salvos make me not want to play it quite as much as some of the other super ships or other battleships in the game, like Bungo, for example, with that crazy spotter plane accuracy. Although that could just be me having too high expectations for when people are broadside. It would be too consistent, maybe, to have Bungo spotter plane dispersion on everything, although I certainly would have a lot of fun with it. But man, Patrie's still very, very powerful. 12 guns. It's still a 26.4 second reload, very fast. Just that's the gimmick of Republic at high tier there, where we have like a 21 second reload. Very, very powerful still. And the extra shell volume helps us out a ton for consistency, even if sometimes you do get a bit trolled on dispersion. 14 kilometer detect is amazing still for these guns. It's not quite as good as some of these insanely concealed battleships at high tier with like Incomparable, Bungo, Vermont, things like that with like heavy cruiser detection with some insane guns, but still very good for a super battleship. The problem is this armor, right? 32 millimeters is not good as armor at tier 10, even tier 9, even tier 8 a lot of the time. So it is a weakness here at super ships tier, and you can lose a lot of HP very quickly, and a lot of that was to torps, to be fair, as well. But a lot of damage eaten here. Upper belt eats so much HE and AP damage. Smaller caliber DDs, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, just eat this thing up when it shows broadside with armor piercing. So you got to be a little bit careful there. But it is quite maneuverable for a super battleship. It's relatively quick, and I know the rudder shift and turning circle radius looks bad, but with that 15% engine boost, it feels more nimble than it looks on paper, I guess I'll say. Here's the build that I was running. Yes, we greed for super heavy AP. It does mean we take more fire damage, but those massive salvos, man. We had a lot of really good 30k plus salvos without citadels even in this game, and not all of that is super heavy AP, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Certainly very nice to have the extra heals, concealment, and fire prevention as well. We're using Grease the Gears since the turrets can feel a little bit slow to turn around, and we do want to be maneuvering quite a lot. We do want to use that engine boost as well to reposition, find broadsides, and sometimes that involves turning your guns to the other side of your ship. So we do want to be using that as well. Using Emergency Repair Specialist here, but not Gun Feeder. And I think that's probably a mistake. Again, I am very greedy for those black ribbons. You guys know this. And those dev strikes. But Patrie HE is crazy. So much damage, pen, and fire chance. You're pretty close to just Conqueror levels at this point. And as we know, Conqueror is a very powerful HE spammer. So don't undervalue that. Sure, you don't have the 32 mil overmatch like some of the other super battleships do have, Satsuma, Hanover, for example. But just swap to the HE and you're going to do massive, like 10,000 damage and a fire salvos. So I would recommend taking Gunfeeder on Patrie if you're a bit more reasonable and aren't greeding as hard as I am for all the AP damage. It does okay into angled chips as well. Certainly overmatching 30 is nice, but the HE is no joke as well. Not gonna troll with secondaries. I've done it before. They just aren't good enough. Secondaries, even on the best secondary ships, feel kind of bad because it's so hard to get into secondary range these days at super ships tier in particular. You need a ship that is as overpowered as Libertad to really even try to accomplish it. So Something that's quite a bit worse in armor as well as concealment, as well as the secondary firepower. You should really just go main guns on this thing, in my opinion. But you can try it. Certainly can work if you get to really close ranges. Although these 100 mil secondaries only pen 17, which doesn't actually get you through superstructures. So you have to take IFHE to have these even full pen superstructures. So quite a few compromises there, I would say, on this ship when you're running a secondary build. But they do fire very quickly, so it can be pretty fun, even if it isn't necessarily optimal. But that's going to do it for today's video on the Patrie. Had a really good game there, while taking monstrous damage early on, so very happy to share that. As well as take a look at Patrie here just before Republic is about to get some buffs to its Sigma next update. So very excited to check out all those balance changes coming up. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.